Hello founding comrades, it's me, the Meat Watcher, and welcome back to the demo of Foundation. So last time we established our tax collection, our security system, and also an ample supply of meat from the woods. Today we're gonna go and endeavor upon bread and hopefully fill the refined food requirement for all our serfs. The meat alone didn't quite seem to cut it. So let's get into bread. So the first thing that you're going to want to have, well, never mind. We got the luxury food supplied, but we're still going to do bread. It's bread time, everyone. So first thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that your bread is unlocked under farming. Now, with farming, it kind of seems a little bit scary because it's a 3-step process. This is, in a lot of games like this, is actually the first time you'll be doing a 3-step process. And it's the same here. You're going to have wheat that you got to go from a farm. Then it goes to the mill to get ground into flour. And then in the end, we got to have bakeries. Now, the first thing you want is a lot of ground that is fertile. Now, if you just select your farm, it should already tell you. It does not tell you. I guess we don't have fertility visibility anymore. That was in the early access, but maybe now. Minerals, fortification. Oh, fertility. There it is. Aha. So it should tell you that the trees are not fertile. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to get rid of these trees. So that'll be the first thing on our docket. So we're just going to select all of these trees, and we're also going to say that this should stop being reforested. So we're going to find our forester camp. And I'm so sorry, but you basically have nothing to do anymore. You know what? You could maybe just plant a little tree here, a little tree here. So whenever you're clearing a large area of trees in order to make room for farming, you might actually find that it's not moving as fast as you need it to. And the reason for that is usually that your wood supplies are full and your woodcutters actually don't have anywhere to put the wood. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to add another temporary woodcutter. So we're going to go into resource production and lumber camp. And we will just put one here. They don't have to stay here. You could just put them somewhere where they're not going to bother everyone else. And we're just going to have that finish. And also, I want to prepare some way to use up all of our lumber. So normally when you're playing Foundation, in the demo, we don't have access to every single thing. Churches, I think, could be a good way to use a lot of lumber. You can see that a lot of these parts need a lot of planks and a lot of wood. So stocking up on those before you build a church is always a good idea. But another thing that I've noticed is that walls, which used to be free in Foundation, used to just be purely decorative. Walls now cost wood to build. So you can see the longer the wall, the more wood it costs to build. So you can use walls not just as like an actual defensive thing, but also to decorate a little bit. So let's take a look around and see how we can decorate our place. So if you go to progression and you unlock the village fence, there's actually a lot of nice stuff in there. It's not just the fence. There's also hedges, stone fences, and all of these things that we used to just use in order to decorate as like walls that were free to build. So a hedge, even though it's a hedge, you can see it still costs lumber. And hedges have quite a bit of like flexibility. You can basically make them in any shape you want, and if you select the corner, you can tell the corner to be rounded, and that will mean that you have some nice options for what you can do with a lot of these shapes. So let's just try and decorate a little bit to get rid of some of our lumber, and in the meantime, these have built. Let's just make sure that our lumber camp has woodcutters in it, and it has storage for 50 lumber. But if you want to go more further, in your unlocks, in your progression, you can find the lumber camp improvement, which is going to give you lots of addition that you can build, including a little storage depot so that you can store even more lumber without having to build a separate you know, storage just for that. Yeah, although these do use quite a lot of upkeep. How much upkeep does a regular storage use? A warehouse uses 10 upkeep and is going to take 400 wood. So consider if you're just temporarily clearing out a lot of wood, you just need temporary storage. Usually what I would do in the early access builds before we had all of these additions to the lumber camp, I would just plop down a warehouse and set all 4 to lumber and then just let them go ham and start chopping. But you don't have to do this in this one because you have these depots, but overall the cost doesn't seem to work out quite the same, right? So now is 10 upkeep, 10 gold upkeep for 400. This, if we build 3 of these, that's 9 upkeep for 75. So the warehouse is definitely still worth it. I am gonna add just a little post to add an extra worker. And hopefully they can access it from here. I think that should be fine. Alright, now let's get back to decorating here with the hedge. Okay, that's some decoration done. I kind of got tired of the hedge. I didn't think that I was making it as pretty as I wanted to. So I pieced out of that and I decided to make a fence here. And then I got distracted and started putting little bits of light everywhere. So that if we have a nighttime look at how nice that is. Ooh, little pockets of light. How pleasant. But yes, that's one thing the foundation is going to give you a lot of, is little opportunities to decorate. That's whenever you're thinking like, oh, I have to wait for this to happen. I have to wait for gold to come in, or for this tree to be cut down, or for this giant construction to be built. Always take those opportunities as something like, let's look around a little bit. Let's see where I can put a little decoration here and there. Like move some stuff together or put some shed somewhere or something that doesn't serve any function, but you can just beautify your place a little bit. I really love those moments and I really love seeing what kind of nice things you can add. Now, let's look at our forest here. So our forest isn't fully eaten yet. We want to eat more of it. But you can see this symbol. That means that every single bit of storage is full that correlates to wood. So the lumber camp, the second lumber camp, as well as our sawmill. Basically, there's nowhere for these things to go. Now, so I said earlier that you can build more storage, but there is also another thing you can do. This is a bit more wasteful, but because trees are renewable, you can absolutely do this. Which is, let's open these 2 slots to wood in our little stone department. I like that our stone department now has its own little fence. I think that's really cute. But yeah, let's wait for the wood and we'll wait for it to come in. So now you have 100 wood. Oh, someone just took 20 of it out. That's fine. You have your wood and it's brimming. All of your wood stocks are brimming. You want to get rid of it. You just need 1 slot in any warehouse. You can even say that it should stock maximum and wait until it's at 100. And then you just unassign the resource. It will actually warn you that if you do this, this will be lost. It'll just be destroyed. So that's one way that you can get rid of a lot of this stuff, even if you don't have anywhere to store it. You just need 1 slot in any warehouse. The problem is though, when it comes to some other materials, it might be a little bit wasteful because while wood is pretty fast to build up, other materials are a little bit harder to renew or to like speedily manifest more of them. You know, if I suddenly need a lot of wood, it's relatively easy to put down a bunch of foresters and then a bunch of lumber camps for the trees to grow fast and then be chopped down. Whereas if it's something that's a pretty short or limited supply in the world, it's kind of hard to just infinitely scale up. But you can see our lumber camps are working again and they are all coming out here to chop down these trees. While they're clearing out our wood, one thing that is also good to keep in mind is the resources you're actually going to need to build the industry, the bread industry. So first of all, you're going to need a lot of gold. So luckily the fence that you can build here is free. It only costs lumber, but everything else, keep in mind how much gold you're putting into stuff. Like, is it going to be more upkeep? Is it going to drain your wallet slowly? Or earlier when I got distracted decorating and putting all of these lights around, these are pretty expensive, so I burned through all of my gold. It's also maybe a good idea to build a treasury sometimes, so that when you're not doing anything big, you can let that money accrue and then, you know, burn through all of it when you have those bursts of creativity. But anyway, when it comes to the bread stuff, you have your wheat farm, your windmill, and your bakery. They all have pretty high upfront costs. So it's 50-50 for the windmill and the bakery, and then 25 for the wheat farm. And in addition to that, there's also a lot of tools required to build this stuff. Now, early on, you're probably going to be buying tools, and tools are pretty expensive. So consider that this is 10 additional tools for the bakery. And if we go to the trade routes, you can actually see that tools are 7 coins a piece. So that's 70 coins in addition to the 50 coins that you're paying for the bakery. So that is a non-negligible amount of money that you're going to be spending on building all of that stuff. Okay, we have some gold. We have cleared the wood. Let's go ahead and get rid of our lumber camps. Thank you all, you have done your service. So I'm going to dismiss them and remove them. I don't know if that's anything that still has relevance, but in the early access, you could actually delete a lumberjack house or lumber camp. And if there was slots available in other lumber camps, then the people from here would automatically reassign to those. Like, they would still consider their job to be lumber camp people. They would just be like, I guess I'll find a different job. And we don't want that right now. So there we go. Oh, they're upgrading stuff over here. Yeah, look at our lovely little place. It's so nice and cozy. And there's a few trees. Also, one thing that's happened while we were waiting on everything is that we've eliminated all of the boars in these woods. So I've extended our territory, and I've also created a little bit of a test zone here to see how quickly the boars repopulate. And it's pretty quick. All of this was empty before, so that's pretty handy. Maybe we need them here as a seed population though. I don't know how boars work. What if we eliminate them to death? Oh boy. That's probably not good, huh? Well, I'm sure that won't happen. Famous last words. Anyway, back to the farming. So, what we need to do now is we put down the farms and get going. The farms, oh, they have a new house model, but the shape is pretty similar to what it was before. I really like the new graphics on pretty much all of the buildings. This is pretty cool. Now, I like to make little fields sort of in a fan shape or something, in, you know, like fields that are in field shapes. Other people will just place their fields in a sort of haphazard way. It's really up to you. It depends on what you're looking for and what kind of thing you want to do. Now, I'm going to make one farm here. And if you hold shift down, you can just keep placing them, which is what I did earlier. I don't know why I canceled it. And maybe we don't want to have fields straight next to the coast. So instead, I'm going to make another farm here. And also here. I'm going to leave a little bit of space open. Although we could put them quite close together. That's, I'm going to leave space open because I haven't done it since early access. In early access, I tend to just put them next to each other. Here, I'm going to see how this works out. And then if there's room, we could always try squeezing them in a little bit. But let's go with 3 farms for now. Presumably, we could go all the way to 4, but I will just leave it with 3. Just so that we have a nice try area. The difference between farms and a lot of other stuff is that usually your production buildings will have a regular output, and then that output gets converted into a regular output of whatever other material is produced from it. But in the case of wheat, you are essentially getting it once every now and then. You're getting a lot of wheat. So usually what I like to do is I like to have a whole granary just for the wheat so that it all gets collected. So our first farm is done. Now farms can have crop fields. Ooh, you can see all of this is now fertile. Farms have crop fields the same way that the forester has its little forester field. Now, you can, nowadays, we have a few options for painting crops in an interesting shape. I like to actually go straight with mine. So, again, you could just sort of paint it like this around and just be like, yep, that's where we're gonna do it. But I'm gonna go like this. So there is a lot of different things that affect how big your fields should be. There isn't a golden rule of thumb. A lot of people will say like make one largest possible blob and that's the size of your field. Other people have other methods. Lots of people have interesting advice for how to size your farms, your fields. The reality is I think a lot of it just gets affected so much by how long your people take to walk to work, how great they are at their job, right? Because there's different skill levels. And all sorts of things like that will affect how much of your field actually gets fully sown, I guess is the word, seeded. So I like to make these into little wedge shapes. So instead of creating a little square or something, it's sort of a wedge. And in order to make straight lines where you don't have straight lines, my tip is just position your mouse, hold down right click, and sort of turn in the direction you want to shave, and then go use the W key to shave off the side of the wedge that you want to make straight. Because with your arrow keys, you're always going to be moving in a straight line. And there you have it. This kind of works for me. Some people don't like the regularity of the wedge shapes. I think that field is a little bit big, but we'll find out. So it really depends again on your personal preferences, what shape you want your fields to be. And also, because this game is so modular and things can just be changed constantly, don't worry about getting the size wrong. You can always adjust. If you see that the field is always getting 100% filled, and you're thinking that maybe you can give it a little bit of extra space, then do that. If you see that the field is only, that they'll be sowing the wheat and they only get to about here, then you can be like, oh, we'll save all of that space in the back. So the shape that I've created here, I've kind of cut off this one in the corner. I feel bad for it, but we will continue with our plan and see what we can do. So here are our 3 crop fields, and we have enough people. Villager path blocked. Oh, sometimes the villagers want to walk into the ocean. I don't know why. Let's assign our farmers. We should also have enough space for the farmers to live, because all of our houses have upgraded their density. Well, okay, we don't have that much space. Perhaps we could add a little residential space up here in case anybody wanted to move in. So that's our first step. Our first step is definitely getting our wheat farms down. Now, while they figure out their life and give us a little bit, if you see a little issue like this, then usually what you have to do is you have to cover the thing and then fix it back like this. These little slices can happen and it's perfectly fine. Okay, so these folks will now start to work, and we should see our first wheat start to appear. Then we want a windmill. Now it says 2 flour in exchange for 8 wheat. Whoa! Okay, well that's a first. That didn't used to happen that way. That's new. But at least now you can see the fields very clearly. And let's keep an eye on how much of this field they're gonna cover. Okay, all of the fields are covered. This tells me that even though I was worried that I made them too big, they're actually okay sized. They seem pretty decent. They're still in the sowing state for quite a long time now. So potentially we could go even bigger with our field size. But for that, I would kind of want to chop even more of these trees. And I think we've reached the edge here. Oh no, we haven't. We still have some space. But yeah, we'd have to buy this land and continue in that direction, which right now, that isn't crucial. Right now what's crucial is we want to get the rest of the bread production on. So let's go to the windmill. Now, as I was saying, the thing is, we don't know exactly how much wheat we're going to get out of these in one season. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make one windmill at the start. And then if there's space, as it were, if the wheat keeps getting left over, then we can add another. Now, with these spaces that we've left here, I think instead of wedging extra farmhouses in, because we're definitely not going to need that, we can put in a mill. Now, this mill shape is a little bit funky, but I think if we do this, they can kind of coexist. And that's exactly what we're gonna do. And then we also need a granary, as discussed previously. This is gonna be a little crowded over here, but I believe the granary will just exist here. All right, look at this beautiful grain growing. Nice. Oh, well done, my berry pickers. Ooh, we probably want more employees because we are going to need, or more villagers because we're going to need more employees. And are we cutting down the trees here that we've just planted? I hope so. Okay, let's wait for the mill and the bakery to be done and for the first harvest. The farm state is currently in growing. You can always check in on your farms. Visually, you can tell what's going on, but it also says what's going on. If you're ever wondering, like, why is nothing happening, you can check. And we're in our first gathering stage. Let's see how much, or harvesting stage. Let's see how much they're gonna harvest. How much wheat we're going to get. They're still working on this windmill. And the granary. The granary can already be given transporters? What? That's interesting. It's not the case with the windmill. Let's see. 9. So one of those slices was 9. Villager path blocked. It better be the ocean. Okay, it is the ocean. That's fine. As long as it's not this mill. So let's put the millers in. Oh, look at that wheat. That's a good amount of wheat. And that was relatively fast. So I'm assuming that this should be fine for one windmill. And they're already milling. And we're going to add wheat. I think this is going to be our wheat place. So we're going to do 3 wheat and 1 flour. Another thing to keep in mind is that usually in a granary, 1 transporter is probably going to be enough. Unless your transporter's job is to walk somewhere across the world to collect something. Or if it's a lot of materials that are going to be seeing a lot of like going in and out and in and out, then you might want 2. But usually I find that 1 transporter, 1 or 2 transporters are fine. 3 and 4, that's really for your, like there's a production on one end of the world and you want to carry resources to the other end of the world, then you're employing loads of people. Right now, this 1 transporter should be enough if he gets to work. Sir, are you on your free time? No, you're transporting flour. Okay, there we go. See, that's nice. Okay, that's cool. So right now this got a little bit full, but that's mostly because this wasn't operating yet before they started filling up. But yeah, nice. Now we have everything working. And the flour processing is pretty fast. So, whoa, look at that. And they produce, well, it went from 26. It better go to 18 now, right? Oh, went to 10. Oh, because it's 2 of them. Right. So it is 16 for 4. Nice. Very nice. Cool. Okay, and now it's time for a bakery. Let's go into the bakery menu. We still have the gold. That's good. That's important. We have a little bit of place here. I was wondering if I would put a church here, but I think the church might go somewhere else. Although, could also put the bakery here. Yes. Is space for bakery. And then church could be here. Alternatively, church goes here. And bakery goes here. Okay, it is decided. The bakery goes here. Let's see where we're gonna squeeze it. It could be a little bit closer to the flour. I was wondering if maybe we could put it somewhere in here. And there's a few little moments where something worked out for all of the houses. But it feels a little bit too crowded, and I don't know. I'm gonna go over here. Although I do like to pack things eventually in the village. I think towns and like medieval settlements, they tend to be quite compact. So I think it just feels nice when you get to manage it to actually be quite compact. Now, one thing that you have to keep in mind is that your baker is gonna need access to a well. We have a well right here. But it is good practice. It's not necessary if it's right there, right? But let's say if it were here, I would probably want a well quite close. And because we have the space here and nothing else can really go here, I think we're just going to put a well here as well. It's going to benefit the people and it's going to benefit the baker. And honestly, we could also put a well here while we're just chatting about wells, because these people live quite far away from a well. And look. There's space. There we go. So we seem to be pretty okay with everything. Now, a good thing to keep an eye on is the rotation of how much do we have, how much wheat do we have, how much flour do we have. Are we running out of wheat before the next harvest? In that case, don't add more windmills, add another farm. Are we running out of flour constantly? If flour is constantly 0, that means that your one bakery is burning all of it up. In that case, check your windmill. Is your windmill operating? If so, if you've constantly got a lot of wheat and 0 flour, means you need more windmill. If you've got 0 wheat and 0 flour, means you gotta up the wheat and then see what the impact on the flour is. And so you kind of work from the choke point that you identify in your chain, if that makes sense. Now let's just wait for this to be constructed. It does seem like we could use another farm. You can see that we are down to 23 wheat, and it's gonna probably be burnt up before the next harvest. So another farm probably for the same mill. So I do quite like this. Usually in a lot of these games, it seems like mills tend to be, it's 2 farms per mill, or sometimes it's even 1 farm into 2 mills or something. And I think it's way more realistic and I guess kind of reasonable that a lot of farms go into 1 mill. Because that's how it used to be, right? You would have 1 mill, not necessarily even per village. Sometimes people would travel to the next village over in order to mill their stuff. And yeah, we can see here that the mill is out of grain. So we definitely could use another thingy. But maybe for that, we're going to buy a little bit more territory. It is quite expensive to buy territory, but I feel like maybe it's worth it. Ooh, risky business. First, let's make sure that this bakery has people. Okay. Then, yeah, let's buy territory so we add a few more farms. Let's do that. Okay, that was very wasteful. That was kind of impulsive of me. And our budget probably isn't that amazing. It's obviously hard to tell right now because we've built a lot of buildings. So the territory acquisitions gave quite a bit of negative, but let's see last month. Upkeep. Tell me that construction. Oh, tools. See, the tools were a big hit to our economy. Without buying tools, we would be in the positives. So that's the thing that I said earlier. Tools can be really expensive. Ooh, Fur's Bakery. A delicious aroma drifts upon the warm wind this morning. It's your village's first bundle of bread, fresh out of the oven, to the delight of every villager and their tingling taste buds. You get a bit of happiness. That's nice. Okay, and then the last step to every time you've set up your bread production, you should not forget this one, and I almost just did. Make sure that you sell your bread. You actually want to, you know, put up a market stall in order to sell it. So that's what we're gonna do over here. We're gonna go like that. And then I guess we have blue for the fish. Let's go with this for the bread. And you're looking good. Do we want to put a little food stall sign? Is it wasteful? I feel like it's maybe a little bit wasteful at this point. We want to save the money. The cloth is also going to cost us even more money. So let's add that. Or let's not add the stall sign. All right, cool. And we can say that this should collect bread. And now this one, I'm thinking we could add an extra transporter because it's getting 4 different things, and the job of this granary is to get everything close to the market. So I think it's a good idea to have 2 people, 2 transporters working here so that everything is constantly stocked up. And you are missing flour. Yeah, we definitely need a little bit more grain. But that's fine. We have set up the production successfully. And also the selling of the bread, which is an important part. Oh, well, don't forget to assign it. Ooh, what's this? Wood for the elders. Yes. Yes. Free money. Giving wood to people is free money. 150 gold for getting rid of some wood. You're paying me to clean house. All right. Excellent. Now let's just clean out some of this forest so that we make room for more farms. And nicer shaped farms. And nicer shaped farms. I think 2 more farms is actually going to be enough. So I'm just going to clean out here like this. Alrighty. Ooh, I also just remembered we have the resource removal tool. And with it, you can just paint whatever you want them to remove. Which is really nice, but be careful because you might not want to remove your little berry bushes. Although I feel like maybe the berry bushes that are in the fields have got to go anyway. So rest in peace to those berry bushes. And these ones. Ugh. Feels rough. Feels sad for the berries. Rest in peace to the berries we lost. Here's a little side note. We just reached our 100th person! Hey! Population hits 100! Nice. Very nice. Should we be 101 villagers? I feel like we'll keep it at around 100. Are we gonna need more? Oh, let's get another one. 101 Dalmatians. Alright, so looks like we're pretty cleansed. I just want to wait for this path to vanish because I don't like when these ugly paths make my farms look less nice. Alright, here we are. Our big fields are up. We have added 2 extra fields on the sides. We've changed the shape of everything, elongated them, and they're still filling them up. So that's real nice. And I think we're actually getting more wheat than we are grinding. There's still a few bits. There's this road here and this from when we had the lumber camps. This will decay eventually and they will be able to farm in there. It does bother me a lot to just have a hole in my farm, but that's fine. Now, of course, one of the most important parts is decorating it. We can't just have these naked fields. So let's make sure that they're spruced up properly. Okay, here we go. Lovely little wall. Or fence, rather. But also, I've noticed that now things were getting full. You could see that it wasn't gathered, and these are warning us that they're full. So, we have 500 wheat, which means we're no longer burning through it, which means we can add another windmill. I wonder if we could squeeze it in here just to match that one. Yeah, I think that's pretty nice. Double windmill power, keeping us nice and windmilly. The builders that made the fences did put a little path through again, but because it was just a small construction, this path should dissipate. Paths dissipate at the reset of each week, so that should be fine. But yes, another windmill should hopefully put a little bit more grind in that flour. Maybe even a third, but that would be a little bit unusual because we didn't add that much field. Also, when a field is about this big, sometimes I tend to, or usually I tend to just punch a hole through the half of it. Over here, the shape is a little bit funky. But if it was just any other day, I'll use the patrolling to show. If they were looking a little bit more straight here, I would just go like this and have the fence sort of separate these two fields in two different places, just so that the people could walk through and get a nice little passage to the other side. Because right now, if you're, for example, here and you want to go over there, you gotta walk all the way around, which is not very efficient, especially because we got a lot of berry bushes out here. I'm pretty sure that our berry pickers aren't getting a lot of work done. So we might need to... No, our berries are fine. They're dipped under 100 for a bit, but now they seem to have recovered. Also, our hunters seem to have picked up. Wheat for the elders. We could throw out the wheat for the elders to get some gold, but our gold is almost full. And I don't think we need that right now. And I want to keep an eye on how our wheat is going to be spent by milling it. All right, cool. Let's wait for that windmill to be completed. All right, I think we're ready to call it here. I feel like I've said all right at about a rate of 5 times a minute. All right, and so. But yes, we are ready to finish here, I think. We've got this massive field. I still feel like maybe I should split it in half, but I don't know. That seems like too much effort at this point. Let's just leave it like this. But, excitedly, next week is going to be probably the finale of this town. We just need to make the church. That's the only thing missing for these people. I mean, obviously a little bit of refined food, but I think that'll get smoothed out now that we have double the windmills and potentially even a third if things don't go, if the wheat doesn't get used up. But yes, I hope you've enjoyed this video. And if you did, please make sure to do all the things that you do when you've enjoyed a video. Leave a comment. Tell me if you found it useful or informative or if I did everything wrong. Also, make sure to come say hi at twitch.tv/lelling and we can chat live. The release of Foundation is fast approaching and I'm going to be streaming it when it comes out. So please come say hi when that happens. I'll also probably start a new series here on YouTube with a brand new city. So that's really exciting. Also, check out other stuff on this channel. I've got plenty of Let's Plays. I also look at various demos. And I tend to stay with resource management and city building games, but I dip my toe into other stuff as well. So there's plenty of stuff to go around and look at. So hopefully I will see you around. If not, have a nice rest of your life and stay solitary. I'll see you all later. Goodbye.